Well, happy Monday and welcome to Monday Musings in the Midwest. I'm Barrett Collins, your host. I'm an educator and a retired attorney. And so I have to say this up front. This podcast should not be considered as creating an attorney-client relationship, and I'm not giving legal advice, even though I talk about some legal topics. Trying to keep this shorter. I failed last week, but let's dive right in. First topic is conspiracies. And we have so many people who have too much time on their hand, and they delve into things and they look at things and they twist and they turn, and they're not looking at the exact stuff. You know, they're sitting 500 miles away in another town looking at the internet. But both cases we're going to talk about today have conspiracies. Now, first conspiracy I know, and there are lots of conspiracies, and sometimes there are conspiracies. I'll give you that. Sometimes people do things to frame other people. I get that. But it happens less than people want to believe. Big conspiracy in America was the killing of JFK. Who did it? Why did they do it? Did Lee Harvey Oswald act alone? Did Jack Ruby act alone? President Kennedy died in 1963, I believe, 62 or 63. And we're still arguing it. You can still go to the 6th Floor Depository Memorial in Dallas, and there are still people standing outside spouting their conspiracy theories. It's kind of a cool trip, and they're pretty interesting, but, you know, it's been 60 years. I don't know that anything's going to change. I will admit that Warren report was interesting. You go back and read it, it's not the same. But that was the first conspiracy, the big conspiracy in America, at least in my lifetime. I know there have been others. But conspiracies now come from, in Kennedy era, we didn't have a phone where you could look up anything. We didn't have social media where they posted every tiny bit of minutia that comes out about a case or that somebody makes up about a case. Remember, people may make up things. And today we have 24-hour news cycle. Everybody's got a cell phone. There are videos of things. There are social media posts. Do I necessarily think it's good? Well, I kind of do, because people have a chance to talk about it. But it leads to wild conspiracy theories, and it leads to people saying things that they really don't have a good kernel of truth attached to. But it's the era we live in. We need to learn discernment as a society. Okay, this person said that. Where'd you start asking questions? Where'd you get that information from? Is that verified? Are we sure that's what happened? That's what we need, is more discernment in our life. Although it makes it more difficult. But if you're going to go down some of those rabbit holes, make sure you're asking those discerning questions. All right, let's dive into the two cases, both of which has conspiracies attached to them. First one, Bryan Kohberger case, and I actually had some viewer questions, so we'll tie those all together. Bryan Kohberger pled guilty to a savage crime with 4 victims in Moscow, Idaho, last July, about this time. So it's been a little over a year that he pled guilty to it. He has filed a petition for post-conviction relief, saying that his attorneys were ineffective, they lied to him, they tricked him. Okay. He had a year to do it, so he did it within the year. Can't really blame him. Little handwritten thing. If you get a chance, pull it up and read it. It's kind of interesting. If you believe handwriting tells a lot about a person. Never look at mine. Okay, so first viewer question is, how can he do this? He signed a plea agreement saying that he would not appeal. Well, he filed for post-conviction relief, and that's not an appeal. And the difference is very subtle. What Bryan Kohberger filed was about his 6th Amendment rights under the Constitution. An appeal, in simplest terms, and guys, I'm saying this in simplest terms, it's a little broader than this. An appeal is about the trial process, or the process of getting to trial. Was that fair? What Bryan said was, I was tricked into doing what I did, and so I want to withdraw my guilty plea and plead not guilty. That's post-conviction. Sometimes these are called habeas or habeas corpus actions, but under the Sixth Amendment, and again, I applaud being able to file these under the Sixth Amendment. You have a right to file to make sure your Sixth Amendment rights were protected. Okay. So that's why he could file it. It's not, he didn't file an appeal. He filed a petition for post-conviction relief. I need a little bit of Diet Pepsi, my favorite. All right. Then the question was, will he be successful on it? Well, knowing that about 1% of all appeals in general are successful, and knowing that post-conviction relief is an unusual thing, do I think he's going to be successful? Unless his attorneys come in and go, oh yeah, we were horrible, and oh yeah, we lied to him, I don't think he's going to be successful. I got to tell you, Ann Taylor, people got angry at her. She was doing a good job defending her client. She came up with motions and ideas that I'd never heard of. So I thought she did a great job. This will not be a hearing we see in public, I don't think. Because you're talking about somebody's reputation. Miss Taylor and every other attorney's reputation is on the line now. So they'll have a private hearing on this, if they even have a hearing. I don't think he's going to be successful. What hurts me is a year ago there was great controversy about whether he should be allowed to plead or not. And there were some families that were upset by it, but we got past it. Now a year later, that wound's been ripped open again, and my heart bleeds for these families of the victims who now have to go through this again, go through the uncertainty. But conspiracy theory related to Bryan Kohberger is people can't believe he could do it by himself. There have been a number of people who have said, yes, he could. They did some studies and showed, yes, he could have done this horrible thing by himself in a very short period of time. And there had to be two people there. And then there are hairs and there's blood. And this was a party house. There were people in and out of there. Of course, there's going to be hair from other people. There might be droplets of blood from other people. You never know. Yeah. The conspiracies just kind of creep me out. Now, if we go to trial, if he ends up winning this, he will have a trial. And he invited the state to put him on death row again, which kind of leads me to think he's not liking prison and not looking forward to the, he's 30 years old, looking forward to the next possible 50 or 60 years. Because people do live longer now and saying, I don't want to live this way. It's possible that's what this is about. But there are a load of conspiracy theories around Bryan Kohberger, and a lot of people who believe he didn't do it. Somebody else did it, and they're framing him. I don't think he's going to be successful, but that's why he could file it. And let's go on and let it be what it is. Second, the Lindsay Clancy trial. Now, I've talked about this. This is the third year in a row. Third week in a row. I've talked about it. It's an ongoing trial. This week we heard from the medical examiner. That testimony was heart-wrenching. And two psychiatrists, including a psychiatrist who saw her the day before she committed these horrible crimes. If she committed them, everybody's innocent until they're proven guilty or whatever happens in a trial. But she's admitted she unalived him, so I guess I can say that. Psychiatrist testified she saw no evidence of psychosis the day before. Now, I don't know how fast psychosis can develop, okay? Everybody agrees she had at least postpartum depression, and was being treated for it. Now, was it effective treatment? Obviously not, but I think the conspiracy theorists are saying they treated her absolutely wrong. Well, the sad thing about psychiatric treatment is you kind of have to experiment. You kind of have to try some drugs for a while, let them get in your system. If they're not working, then you have to wean them off. In general, I'm not a psychiatrist, but In general, that's what I've found over the years. I don't take any psychiatric drugs, but I know some folks who do, and I've dealt with clients who do. Obviously, the treatment was not effective for her, but that doesn't mean she wasn't being treated. Anyway, the psychiatrists were saying, both psychiatrists that testified said they didn't see the signs of psychosis with her, and we'll see more psychiatrists. I don't know how you prove what a person who was by themselves was feeling or thinking at any one time. So this jury's got a hard row ahead of them. The defense, this Kevin Reddington, excellent attorney, is doing a great job defending her. It's a sad case, and it's hard even for me to watch because of what's going on. Well, the conspiracy theory. There are folks that are scrupulously observing every movement her husband, Patrick, made. And Patrick testified for 2 or 3 days at the start of this trial a couple of weeks ago. And saying, what they're trying to imply is that Patrick killed the children and threw her out the window. It's basically what they're saying, even though Lindsay has admitted she did it. Lindsay's admitted she jumped out the window, but you have these conspirators who are saying that he did something. And it comes down to some work email that was sent after the time that he supposedly left the home. I mean, I have my work email on my phone. I'm sure they can track and find out what device it was sent from. I guess if that's a big deal. But you're in a case where the defendant has said, I did these horrible things and I did this to myself. Why are we worried about it? Now let's worry about whether she was in a legal state of mind to be held responsible for it. So the question I got two. One was, do you think she's done it? I got to tell you, at this point, I don't know. My opinion doesn't matter. It's the members of the jury that matter. But remember, you can have 12 different opinions on that jury. It could come back a hung jury. It really could. I think this is a very, very close case. I would call this case too close to call. Second question I got. Miss Clancy has been, I think, appropriately crying. She was sobbing, not horribly loud, just sobbing when the medical examiner was talking about the autopsy on her baby. And the question was, most of the time we see these defendants not reacting. Bryan Kohberger didn't react. Corey Richards didn't react. And a lot of attorneys will tell their clients don't react because you don't want your client standing up and screaming, "You're lying." You don't want that. But she is appropriately sobbing at what is a horrible situation. So it's not like I don't think she's being untoward. It doesn't bother me that she's crying. It's a horrible situation, and she's admitted she did it, so she's probably regretting that at this point. I don't know if they can prove that at the time she committed these murders, she was able to be held responsible for them. And we'll see next week. I had another question, and I thought this was really neat. I had questions about my artwork on the back walls, and these are a wonderful American artist, P. Buckley Moss. She did primitives, and I have several. I'm blessed to have several prints. I inherited some from my mother, and I've collected some on my own. And so that's what they are. You might look her up. It's P, and then Buckley, which is a cool name, and then Moss, M-O-S-S. I think she died 2 years ago. But that's what they are, in case you wanted to know. Well, that's it for today's session. I hope you enjoyed my musings this Monday. I'm Barrett Collins reporting. Goodbye for this week. See you next week.